to the King Cast, sponsored by the King Economics Division of the Social Sciences Department. I'm your host, Frank Roach. Thanks for joining us again this week. With me today is my production team, my video editor, our sports reporters, Raheel Jaswal, Jack Zipper, Nicole Rohr, Jake Murphy. Great to have you all back. How's everything today?
Good.
Pretty good.
Okay, it's homecoming at King today. Sadly, we can't all be there, but we can think back in years past how fun these days are. All right, so today on the show, we have Goldman Sachs' involvement with their Malaysian fund. Cost them lots of money for that operation. What did we learn this week? The fun stuff from the classrooms. King Things, our sports report. We have a special story on PayPal and the use of cryptocurrency, as people think we might move away from the US dollar and go to cryptocurrency. The middle class is disappearing, and as always, data, the markets, and the economy. We start out with a really important story today in financial markets with respect to Goldman Sachs and lots of fines and judgments against them. And it was released today after paying another $1 billion fine for their IMBD involvement. There's a report from Nicole Rohr. Nicole, tell us about Goldman's troubles.
Okay, so we had some great news about Goldman Sachs last week, but unfortunately this week we have some not so great news. On Thursday, Goldman Sachs settled allegations that certain bankers broke U.S. corruption laws in one of the biggest foreign bribery cases in U.S. enforcement history. Certain Goldman employees are said to have helped spread $1.6 billion in illicit payments across Malaysia and the Middle East as part of a scheme that diverted money in payments that were raised for development projects into an international spending spree on mansions and lavish parties with respect to the Malaysian fund known as 1MDB. The bank agreed to billions of dollars in new penalties to the Justice Department and other U.S. authorities, as well as to regulators in the UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. The payments will end up being more than $5 billion to resolve probes into bond deals it arranged for 1MDB. Goldman CEO David Solomon said that the former employees who broke the law had concealed their actions, but nonetheless, the bank had fallen short, and the employees' deception of their true actions did not excuse the lack of responsibility from him and everyone else involved. The bank is now going to be withholding more than $100 million in executive compensation, which is a pretty rare move for a Wall Street bank. CEO David Solomon is just one of the people whose bonuses are going to be cut short, along with former CEO Lloyd Blankfein and other departed executives. 2 Goldman Sachs bankers have been criminally charged, and prosecutors alleged that senior executives at the bank ignored warning signs of fraud. By settling this matter, Goldman is looking to do the right thing, learn from its mistakes, and take steps to repair the reputational impact of this matter.
A great report, Nicole. I love that finish that Goldman Sachs has done the right thing. Of course, Goldman Sachs, being the powerhouse that it is going to claim no responsibility, right? No guilt. We'll pay you the money. We don't say we did anything wrong. That's kind of how these deals work at that level. So they kind of got away with something. What's interesting, Nicole, is that $5 billion, that's the same amount of money that was injected into Goldman Sachs in 2009 by Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett to save them from going out of business. So that's an interesting correlation between 2009 and today. And sadly, there's just 2 individuals that are being in trouble here in terms of criminal activity, and yet it seems like several people higher up would likely be in peril as well, but that's not the case given the agreement. So good report, Nicole. As always, Goldman Sachs makes the show 2 weeks in a row. All right, now is a little bit of a time we switch to something more fun, some smiles on our face, and it's time for
What Did We Learn This Week?
All right, I love this segment. We'll start with Raheel. Raheel, what you learn this week?
That there is a population crisis in India and China.
Okay, I assume we mean there's too many people.
Too many people, and the females to males ratio is extremely unbalanced.
That's right, and that's a preference by parents, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that the same thing in India?
India was more based off old government rules, and that's how it's kind of happened from older times.
Do you know what the government's rules were that motivated that?
No, I don't remember. I think it's more again like China.
Okay, and what class was that in, Raheel?
Environmental science, Mr. Brat.
Environmental science, and who's the teacher there?
Mr. Brat.
Mr. Brat, he's great. Jack, what'd you learn this week?
So researching for the King Cast, I learned that the first soccer club or football club ever was founded today in 1857. It's called Sheffield FC, and it's currently a non-league club in the North League South or something.
Okay, good. Are they a prominent team? Are they well represented? Do they do well?
They have never been a well-represented team. As I said, they were non-league, which means they are not in the top 4 divisions of
I
English
see.
football.
Okay, so that's what non-league means. Okay, good. Nicole, what'd you learn this week?
In my AP Economics class, we learned about comparative advantage versus absolute advantage, and some more about international.
Who has a comparative advantage, Nicole?
Well, comparative advantage is basically who has to forego, or as we call it, opportunity cost, who has to forego the least amount of another product to produce additional unit of a certain product that you're talking about. So, for example, if you have cupcakes to donuts, and you're going to think about producing an additional unit of donuts, how many units of cupcakes do you have to give up? And whoever has to give up the least amount of cupcakes is the one who has the comparative advantage.
Well done. Nicole had a final yesterday. That was one of her free response questions that she nailed. So well done, Nicole. Jake, what'd you learn this week?
Well, this week in my Spanish 5 class, I learned that there are 63 native languages still spoken in Mexico. And that's not just 63 languages, that's 63 native languages that have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, which is very interesting how even though very few people still speak them or are fluent in them, that they're still sort of around.
That's amazing. That goes back to some serious history, right, Jake? What class was this?
This was Spanish 5.
Spanish 5. And who's that teacher?
That is Senor Farrell.
Okay, so really interesting story there. And then what was the story last week about one of the countries that spends no money in military? What was that one? Was that you, Raheel?
Yeah.
What country was that spends no money on military?
Oh, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Okay, some good Latin American news these past couple of weeks. Okay, I love that segment. What did I learn this week? I learned how much I'm going to miss you all at the end of this first quarter. 7 weeks, and now I'm losing all my students. It's really sad. Teachers really bond with their students. We love to be with you. And so a lot of my students that we just have for 7 weeks, I'm not going to see for a while. So kind of sad. All right, that was fun. Thank you very much. And that was...
What did we learn this week?
Okay, I love that segment. All right, it's time for King Things, Nicole. What's going on in our wonderful community at King?
We are nearing the end of homecoming week. It officially ends tomorrow, Sunday, October 25th, but as of now, the blue team has 534.5 points, and the gold team has 465.5 points.
Go
Both
Blue.
teams, yeah, go blue. Both teams have a huge opportunity to improve their points today, and the King Cares 5K.
Just a reminder that the next virtual play reading will be taking place on November 6th.
All upper school students have been having discussions within their advisory about their political views. This idea of students sharing their personal experiences and values with their advisory was presented to the students by Mr. Coulomb, who wrote, "The approach we are using focuses on deep listening as students share their perspectives as they are informed by their own values and their own stories."
For these conversations to be successful and productive and enhance our knowledge and understanding about others' beliefs and how they arrived at those beliefs, we must keep in mind the following norms for community conversations. 1. Be fully present. 2. Speak from the I perspective. 3. Share your truth, but make room for others to share theirs. 4. Listen for understanding rather than for responding. 5. Lean into discomfort. 6. Accept conflict and its resolution as a necessary catalyst for learning. 7. Be comfortable with silence. 8. Be concise and share the stage. 9. Honor the confidentiality of your group. And 10. Assume best intentions.
All right, so that's a good list. And this is an important time for this discussion, right? What I teach my students all the time, and we'll do here at the KingCast, is objectivity, right? Understanding both sides, being open to discussion. If you want someone to think like you do, then you have to persuade them. And they may want to persuade you. Right? It's okay to have disagreements. It's okay to be with people that you disagree with. It's kind of a sad state today that one side won't talk to the other side just because they don't agree. That hasn't been the case always. It's okay to have disagreement with a friend or a colleague. There's a civil way to deal with it, and I think this list really represents that well. Now, are you all interested in this election? Are you paying attention? Raheel, are you paying attention to the election?
Kinda.
Yeah. Have you had any political discussions with your friends about it?
No, I don't have political discussions with my friends.
Okay. How about you, Jack?
I have not had political discussions with my friends, but I sure has had them with my family.
With your family, good. So that's an active thing. Jake, what's your involvement with discussion about this stuff? Are you paying attention?
Well, I sure have been watching all the debates, and I like to have these sorts of discussions with my family, and we try to be as unbiased as possible and really look at the facts of what's happened. But I usually really haven't talked about it in school with friends.
Understood. And that's understandable, right? We don't. It can bring tension. Nicole, I suspect you are paying attention, probably battling with your brother, but are you focused on this?
Yeah, I mean, I take a huge interest in politics, so I've been talking about it constantly, trying to look at what's best for the country, what's best for self-interest, kind of a battle when everyone, obviously I can't vote, but when deciding who to vote for, who are you voting in the interest of?
So it's an important discussion. I'm glad you're all focused. I like the fact that you are deliberately not engaging that. That's an option as well. One thing we can talk about in terms of economics and markets is empirical data is a good way to formulate opinions and positions, right? Whenever there's uncertainty, appeal to the data. Recognizing that data is never perfect and it can be swayed and can be used in different ways. But empirical evidence is a good way to determine outcomes and decisions and where you go with your vote. All right, let's continue on. Nicole, what's next?
So we're heading into the second quarter of the semester, which means 4 brand new colors, and we're also combining cohorts A and B into one group again. So unless you are a fully remote student, you will be attending school in person on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Remote Wednesdays will remain throughout the second quarter.
If you are making the decision to learn fully remote, let Mr. Parker know by November 6th and reach out to your teachers as soon as possible to make sure you have a plan and understand how remote learning is going to work for each of your classes. You can find more information about this in an email sent out from Ms. Sadlowski on Friday.
Going off of that, Ms. Sadlowski gave us some really crucial information in that email as to how the 4 days in person is going to work, as well as reminders about the community guidelines to keep us all safe. I know many of us are very excited about getting to go back to school in person 4 days a week, but the only way this will work is if we adhere to the guidelines that the school has put in place to protect the entire community.
I'm really excited to be back with everybody. I hope it works out. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's wear our masks, and it's going to be great to have you all together. All right, I think it's time for sports, our second week with our sports reporters, Jack Zipper and Raheel Jeswal. Jack, start us off.
Good morning and welcome to the King Cast Sports Update. I'm Jack Zipper, bringing you the hottest topics in sports. We first start out in the World Series, where the Dodgers took Game 3, 6-2. Though the Dodgers' offense was dominant, the defense was what got the Dodgers the win. Starting pitcher Walker Buehler shined with 10 strikeouts in 6 innings pitched, not to mention only letting up 1 run. The Dodgers win a pivotal game and hope to continue their momentum throughout the series. To the gridiron now, and the Big Ten is back. All salty Michigan fans, you can now rejoice. The Big Ten will make its collective debut on Saturday, becoming the 4th Power 5 conference to kick off this season. Ohio State hopes to start its national title bid off right with a win against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. That game will kick off at 12 p.m. The big game, though, is number 18 Michigan against number 21 Minnesota. And the winner of this game will start off with an impressive win. That kickoff is at 7:30 p.m. Now to the NBA, where the league's Board of Governors met yesterday to discuss potential changes to the 2021 NBA season. For the NBA, the goal is an 82-game season, playoffs with fans. They also discussed not waiting to allow fans before all NBA arenas permitted. Before the season can start, though, they will have to finalize the collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association, which has turned to be a tough assignment. The NBA has a lot on its plate right now, but it seems like the season could be a normal one. Now let's hear from Raheel Jeswal for our homecoming preview.
The 2020 fall season will officially begin as our student athletes will take the field for homecoming. Make sure you support the Vikings as the action starts at noon with JV girls volleyball. Shortly after, at 12:15, the field hockey team will play on the brand new turf field. And the varsity volleyball team will play at the North Grass Field at 2 p.m. Also at 2, the cross-country team, varsity girls soccer team, and JV boys soccer team will all be playing at GFA. Then the day will finish with the boys soccer at 2:30 and football at 3:30 versus Hamden Hall. Once again, please show your support on the new Viking Live session. You can find the link in the bio of the King School Athletics Instagram page.
All right, good report, gentlemen, on the sports. It's so great to have the athletes back on the fields today. Only seniors and their parents can attend the events, understanding for COVID social distancing issues, but a good sign for the community and for all athletes who came in the area, of course. I think the football is 7-on-7, right?
Yes, it is.
And I think it's touch, if I'm not mistaken, or flag football.
Rahul, do you know?
I think it is.
I'd assume it's probably touch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be flag or touch. Understandable for the tackling issues and a pile of people breathing on each other. So really good news there. I'm going to be out there. I will have been out there enjoying that as well. All right, so that was another great segment for King Things. Thank you for that excellent research on our community. King is a wonderful place to be, and of course, we encourage those who aren't here to come and join us. All right, so now it's time for economy and markets, and a special report again by our editor and reporter, Jake Murphy. Jake, what are you talking to us about today?
Right. So this is about PayPal, which is beginning to allow the use of cryptocurrency on their platform. So just this Wednesday, PayPal announced that it would begin supporting the buying and selling of several of the top cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. However, there is a bit of a catch. PayPal's nearly 350 million users will only be able to purchase, hold, and sell cryptocurrencies in their PayPal accounts. PayPal will not give its users access to their private keys, which are a long encrypted string of characters that gives the holder control of the coin, meaning users will not be able to transform the coins anywhere else. This has caused significant backlash from the more dedicated members of the crypto community, who have recently coined the term, "not your keys, not your coins." Despite this, several cryptocurrency prices have risen after the news, including Bitcoin, whose worth has increased over $1,000 per coin since Tuesday and now stands at over $13,000 as of this morning.
Okay, it's bid again. Remember, it was up to $21,000 a couple of years ago. All right, and so this looks like a little bit of a trading platform. And the key to the key they're talking about is the blockchain technology, right? And
That's right.
The key to value for cryptocurrencies is its scarcity. And so that's why it has value, because it's scarce. So that does seem like PayPal is just looking to earn fees, just earn fees and earn fees. Okay, so
That's where they make their money, getting those fees.
that's right. The fee-based business is a wonderful way to be. I forget, we have a famous investor says, don't sell things, lease things. And so this is like that with the fee-based programs. Nicole, you may remember this, money as a store of value, as a unit of account, and a medium of exchange, right? And so this effort, if this continues in this direction, will bring cryptocurrencies into those three definitions in terms of medium exchange. Okay, and so therefore it will be considered money. This is concerning to many economists, but the Federal Reserve and central banks around the world are looking at these same things, right? One of the key things about these cryptocurrencies is the blockchain technology, essentially a really sophisticated spreadsheet that's very secure and accurate, and that seems to be the driving force behind it. All right, one more report for us in economy and markets before we get to data in the economy is a new report by the Social Security Administration showing the middle class of America is vanishing. In 2019, the median yearly wage was $34,248. In other words, half of all Americans make less than $34,000 a year. Obviously, half of all Americans make more than that as well. But on that median number, if we divide it by 12 on a gross basis, right, before taxes, that's $2,854 a month. That's hard just to live, just have an apartment. Forget buying, just think in terms of renting. And so some key numbers from the report that are of concern: 32.26% of Americans make less than $20,000 a year. Scary. 44.7% of Americans make less than $30,000 a year. And 56.4% of Americans make less than $40,000 a year. 65% of Americans make less than $50,000 a year. This is a real dramatic change in the makeup of our society in terms of who's making what. And so today, the poverty level for a typical household in America is $30,000. That used to be $14,000 not that long ago. Net compensation for the whole economy, $8.7 trillion in 2019. That's a huge number. 169 million Americans were at work, just 47% of the total population. These numbers are concerning, deeply alarming. The middle class is vanishing. We can think of immigration, international trade, debt and deficits, education as some of the factors that might be impacting this, but certainly something policymakers will want to pay attention to for damage done to the economy. All right, that's it for our reports on the economy and markets. Now let's finish up the show talking about some data. We'll talk about data from last week and, of course, discuss the data for this week. All right, so the data for the past week, start us off for you.
Friday, no data.
On Thursday, initial jobless claims on the weekend of October 17th were 788,000 versus 842,000 in the prior week.
Also on Thursday, September existing home sales, 6.54 million units on an annualized basis versus 5.98 million in prior month.
On Wednesday, MBA mortgage applications on the weekend for October 16th were down 0.6% versus down 0.7% in prior week.
Tuesday, September housing starts 1.415 million units on an annualized basis versus 1.388 million in August.
And on Monday, there was no data.
Okay, so an interesting week of data to be sure. Housing market continues to be hot. Every housing data point we get is above expectations. People are leaving cities and they're buying homes in suburban and rural areas. And so housing is really, really doing well. We have a V-shaped recovery in housing for sure on the back of the COVID lockdowns. Really interesting information there. We'll keep an eye on that. And also initial claims back below 800,000, really good sign. Let's hope that trend continues, and continuing claims also dropped this week as well, below 10 million. So good sign there. All right, data for this week. What do we have? Start us off, Nicole.
On Monday, we have September new home sales.
For Tuesday, September durable good orders, and in October, consumer confidence.
On Wednesday, MPA mortgage applications, weekend, October 23rd. September international trade in goods.
On Thursday, we have initial unemployment claims on the weekend of October 24th and September pending home sales.
On Friday, we've got September personal income and personal spending and September Chicago Purchasing Managers Index.
Okay, so another data point on housing this week, pending home sales. Those are homes in contract, waiting to go to closing. Should see another upside number for sure. All right, now it's time to talk about the markets. We check in on data, we check in on market movements, right? If you're an investor or trader, you have to correlate these things. What's the health of the economy? What's the impact on markets? Real-time analysis. All right, Jake, start us off. What's going on in the markets?
S&P 500, 3,465.39, down 32 against 3,497 last week.
NASDAQ, 11,548, down 183 points from last week's 11,731.
3-month Treasury at 0.94%, down small versus 0.101% last week.
10-year Treasury, 0.841%, up 1% from last week's 0.744%.
30-year Treasury, 1.641, up 0.01% against 1.533% last week.
Euro against the dollar, 1.1860, up 140 points from last week's 1.1720.
Dollar against the yen was 104.69, down 66 points from last week's total of 105.36.
The sterling against the dollar, 1.3040, up 100 points from last week's 1.2940.
Dollar against Canada, 1.3130, down 50 points against last week's 1.3180.
West Texas Intermediate, $39.78, down $1.05 from last week's 40.83.
Brent is at $41.77, down $1.19 from last week's $42.96.
Gasoline, 1.1390, down 2 cents from last week's 1.1650.
Gold is $1,903.40, down $2 from last week's $1,905.00.
Okay, can't keep a good market down. Equities are still rallying near all-time highs. Dollar is a little whipsawed back and forth. Its dollar weakness is still the trend, but we can't break too high above 118.50 in the euro against the dollar. Oil is back below $40, good for us at the gas pump, and gold continues bid on the back of uncertainty and chaos and concerns about violence after the elections. And so that's our show today, Economy and Markets. Of course, we want to finish off with our friendly reminders. Jake Murphy, start us off.
Do your reading.
Do your homework.
Come to class prepared.
Use your blinker when making turns or switching lanes.
Stop signs mean stop.
Thank you, Jake. And no texting while driving. That is it for us. Thank you to our great crew, Raheel, Jack, Nicole, Jake. We missed Lily this week, of course. We'll see you back next week. We'll bring some guests on and some co-hosts coming up as well. Join us again next week, and tell your friends and family to listen to the KingCast at kingschoolct.org, Campus Life. And that's it. We're out.